Not So Obvious and Rose of Dawn, two up-and-coming YouTubers who are part of the non-leftist side of the culture war, have been at the receiving end of some censorship. Not So Obvious, he deals with more current events, also doing a lot of what you could consider podcasts with the Britisher and others, and Rose of Dawn, discussing issues with transgenderism and the rest of the LGBT community. The two were censored because they just so happened to criticise one person who has rose in infamy the past few weeks, Jessica Yaniv. Now, who is Jessica Yaniv? Well, to try and keep it as brief as possible, Jessica Yaniv is a transgender woman and a political activist who rose to fame recently because they were refused a Brazilian waxing by a cisgendered female beautician. Why was Yaniv refused this waxing? Because Yaniv still has all their male genitalia, and the beautician, being female, refused to wax them. This created a bake-the-cake style controversy, and Jessica Yaniv received support and sympathy from the left, and criticism and derision from everybody else. However, more facts about Yaniv have since emerged, with what I can only call dubious text messages to minors or about minors, and a history of being rather degenerate. If anything, it can be theorised that the reason Yaniv wanted their balls waxed was not for an entirely innocent reason. Indeed, Yaniv has been arrested on suspicion of child grooming literally a few days ago. Rose of Dawn, being transgender herself, was one of the first to criticise Yaniv and defended the beautician's right to serve any customer she sees fit, and has even debated Yaniv live on YouTube with Blair White. But it was not Rose who was censored first. Not So Obvious released his own video about Jessica Yaniv, initially one called The Ballad of Jessica Yaniv, which was flagged. I can only assume it was flagged for harassment because YouTube has recently been trying to crack down on videos responding to people, though from what I can gather, the video itself was not a response, but because it was about a person who is ostensibly part of a protected class and had been on YouTube debates, for some reason Yaniv is now considered part of the community, and thus responding to her could be considered harassment under the new guidelines. Yes, YouTube has new guidelines on creator relations, which were revealed in VidCon this year, essentially trying to outlaw response videos. The video can still be viewed on BitChute, and thankfully the video is now back up on YouTube, though I believe he may have retitled it so it looks like a different video when it isn't. But thankfully, community pressure saw to it that YouTube brought it back from the dead. I don't think we'll be lucky next time though. Rose of Dawn, as we have established, has already debated and made videos about Yaniv. Thankfully, she has managed to avoid, to the best of my knowledge, any flagging on YouTube. However, on Twitter, she was suspended. Now, I'm not sure if it was through direct contact with Yaniv on Twitter, but I do know it was about her, and things probably got heated in the debates, as you would expect. I personally think that the reason why these two were censored is because the left love to make minorities protected classes. The progressive stack, as you know. Now, of course, this isn't limited to every individual, or even every group that can be considered a minority. White South Africans, despite the trouble they have nowadays, are probably not considered at the bottom of the stack in their country, and increasingly Southeast Asians and have been moved up and up the stack, and as you can probably tell, this special treatment wasn't reserved for an actually decent person like Rose, but for a monstrosity like Yaniv, who is, I must stress again, is not only authoritarian, but a legitimate degenerate. They may well be a sexual predator, yet Twitter chooses to side with Yaniv as opposed to Rose. How is this in any way a good look for the left, or the tech giants? People like Yaniv, and even down to sane trans leftists like Miley Stewart or Riley Dennis, I use the term saner in inverted commas, do more harm to the so-called community than good. Because these are the people whose voice is magnified by the progressive left media, and considering the progressive media holds a large sway when it comes to getting their message across, it is these types of individuals the public see. How can this be good? How is this going to end well for transgender people who want to be accepted, but will see that acceptance dwindle because of these authoritarians demanding not equal rights, but more rights and more privileges and special treatment? Bill C-16 is a classic case of this demand for special treatment being acknowledged by a government. Yes, Bill C-16 is not a law, but it is a declaration of sorts and an acknowledgement that transgender people have the right to assert how one must view and refer to them. It's not people like Rose of Dawn or Blair White who demand this, but people like Yaniv and even trenders like ContraPoint. Speaking of trans trenders, when one cannot even discern if someone referring to themselves as trans can even be trans, when everything you see flies in the face of that, no wonder things aren't going so well. The progressive left can attack the past all they want, but I would argue that 10 years ago was a much more accepting place of trans people than today, because of the political agitating and the just sheer arrogance of the activists tainting the perception of their community. But anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent there, but this censorship is simply par for the course these days. It's getting harder to call out individuals for their bad behaviour because the left have a very good way of making it out like you're attacking the group as a whole. But it's a double-edged sword. They can censor not so obvious, and they can censor and suspend Rose of Dawn, but this same tactic will make people dislike transgender people more than like them, because when you are seen to be defending people like Yaniv and also making out that those types of people are the average transgender person, when in actuality they are a minority of even a teeny tiny minority, it's a recipe for social disaster. But they cannot see this, and when they do, it will be too late. Either community relations will have broken down, or actual hardline ultra-traditionalist parties will take power and roll back trans rights 60 years. If they stop this now, it could be prevented, but there's only so much that people like Rose of Dawn can do against such reactionary forces. And as always, censorship always comes back to bite the censor. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to smash the like button, share the video, drop me a comment. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.